Babe of the day. Babe of the day. The Women of Workbasket magazine. If you had a grandma, aunt, or, for that matter, just about any female relative growing up, at least one of them had Workbasket magazines. One thing I noticed about the Workbasket magazines is that they had a lot of good-looking women as models. The magazine didn't give its models name credit, but they really should have. All of them looked real nice, and some of them were real knockouts. I thought it was a good thing that women actually modeled the clothes you could make, giving the reader an idea of how they should look. The magazine used models of all ages, men, women, and children, but the adult women were most prominent. The Workbasket was a fairly thick little magazine, chock full of things for women to do. A lot of people think it was just about knitting, crocheting, sewing, quilting, things like that. True, that was a big part of the magazine, but there were scads of other things like recipes, canning and preserving food, health tips, furniture repair, household maintenance, and crafts of all kinds. It was the ultimate do-it-yourself guide, and although its main demographic was women, I think a lot of men would find this magazine useful too. The magazine ran from 1935 to 1996. Based in the Kansas City, Missouri area, it was started by John and Clara Tillotson from their kitchen table. They were initially 8-page pamphlets, but over time, they became genuine magazines. For the first few decades, this magazine was produced pretty cheaply in black and white, but it was always full of really interesting stuff. It was a direct mail business, and by 1966, it had over 2 million subscribers. The number certainly grew greater in the years to come. Not to mention that women passed these around to other women like baseball cards, so they got around a bit. Eventually, the magazine became slicker and more polished. It was now in color and boasted more photographs. It also got a lot of big-name companies advertising in it. By the 1960s, for sure, it was no longer a small concern. The Workbasket was just it for a lot of people. The magazine got sold in 1990, but continued until 1996. This was really the end of an era. Sadly, women, on a large scale, started making themselves less handy. Things like sewing and cooking didn't seem to fit in with the women's lib garbage. Personally, I don't think anything is more liberating than being able to do things yourself, and this magazine showed you how. I don't like to get preachy, but I'm not going to lie. Computers, and especially the internet, was the death of everything in the 1990s. Most everything about living has sucked since then. It's not just middle-aged and older people saying that. I hear the same thing from people in their 20s. Everyone needs to get a bit more real. And I think magazines like The Workbasket and others are very important for people to see. Another thing to emphasize is that the things that they had you make in the magazine weren't just for women. You could make clothes for men too, and for boys and girls. You could even make toys. The money you could save by doing these things yourself is unreal. Being handy is an attractive quality in any woman. Any woman who contributed to the Workbasket magazine in any way, or used it, can consider herself a
Babe of the day. Babe of the day.